One of the best use cases and things that you can do with generative AI is to use it for brainstorming. So in this video, I'm going to show you kind of how you could take a house, whether you are maybe a real estate agent and you have a render of a house and you want to see what does it look like in different seasons or different scenarios. Or maybe you just have a dream house and you want to see what would this dream house look like. So you can pluck an image from the internet of a house that you like, or you could just use AI to generate an image. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use ControlNet and we're going to see what it looks like in different seasons. It's going to be super cool. Check this out. Now, the idea here is that you already have a house in mind. So I'm not going to start from scratch, and I'm going to open up my gallery and I'm going to pull off, let's see, I've got two different starter images here. They're both pretty good. They're both very similar, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and pull that one. This is kind of a springtime look. It's a little bit rainy. You can see the reflection on the wet sidewalk. There's a little bit of fog in the distance. Now let's go through our settings to see what we would do in order to change this into a summer image. First, here's our prompt. Quaint white Victorian house with gable roof, wraparound porch, winding sidewalk leading to front door. This beginning part right here is the part that's going to be consistent throughout all of the images. And then the second part is the part that I'm going to be changing. So we have light spring rain, puddles reflecting the house, fresh grass, gentle misty atmosphere. Let's go ahead and connect to our SuperNet. I'm going to be generating 4 images at a time, but of course you could generate as many as you wanted at a time. But 4 at a time is great so that you can actually see them pretty clearly in the video. Let's open up our model. Since we're going to be using ControlNet, we're going to need to use a ControlNet model. And since we're doing architectural ones, I'm doing architecture raw render. So you can see some of these test images that we have here. You could maybe do architectural real mix. It's up to you which one you'd prefer, but I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I'm using a custom style prompt. So my style prompt is architectural photography, professional real estate photography, photorealistic rendering, and cinematic lighting. Minimize that. And for my void prompt, I have unrealistic proportions, warped windows, uneven surfaces, blurry details, oversaturation, cartoon look, watermarks, and low quality. That again is also going to stay the same the whole time. I'm going to randomize my seed, and I'm doing this in 20 steps and a guidance of 6. Since I want this to be photorealistic, I wouldn't really go above 6 guidance, or maybe if I were, it would be very slightly above that, like maybe 6.5. We're not going to be using a guide image for this, but we will be using ControlNet. If your image is just in Finder, you could just drag it over here, or you can click the plus sign to open Finder and see it from there. I'm going to drag it over from my main canvas area. Now we have a couple options of which ControlNet we could use. If we wanted to, we could use depth, so we would do our depth preprocessor. But as you can see, let's go ahead and make this a bit bigger. This way you can see it better. With depth, you get a general outline of the building, but there's a whole lot of information that's just kind of missing. So there's no walkway that you can see very well. You can't really see this tree that's on the right. You can kind of see it, but there's very few details. So I'm actually not going to be using depth. I think if you were doing interior architectural ones, you might have better luck with depth. But I'm going to go ahead and not use that. And instead, we're going to change this. We're going to use our sketch preprocessor, and that gives us a line drawing. And then we're going to invert our colors because they all work better with a black background and white lines. Now, in terms of models we could use, you could use Canny, which would be supported here. You could use line art. Obviously, I wouldn't use line art anime. You could use MLSD, which is the mobile line segment detector, or you can use Scribble. There's not really a right answer in which one to use. Different ones are going to give you different results. Let's just start with Scribble and see where that gets us. And let's scroll back up to the top, and we need to make some changes to our prompt. I'm going to make this smaller again so it's easier to read the prompt. Now let's change this to summer. I'm going to select the second half of this, which would be everything after the front door, and paste in my new prompt. So now I have bright summer day, clear blue sky, sunlight casting delicate shadows, and lush green lawn. Having green here might end up actually changing the colors of the house to green. Let's see what happens. That actually worked out really well. I think that of these, this one added a picket fence. These ones have some kind of untamed grass, which I'm not particularly big fan of, but I think this one did a pretty great job actually. We are still using Stable Diffusion 1.5 models, and so we're not going to get super high quality yet, but we could always upscale them after the fact. Our images are 768 by 768, but this gives us a really solid starting point. So I'm going to add this one to our gallery. Let's do summer night. Let's go ahead again. I'm going to paste in the second half of my prompt. And now we have nighttime, soft yellow lights glowing from windows, and summer sky. And so we don't need to make that many changes to it to get a totally different image. And again, we want it to be consistent, so we're keeping all of the details of the house the same. Let's imagine. Very nice. We've got some really fancy looking lawns over here. If you scroll down and look at what our ControlNet looks, you can see that it has in the front here, you're getting all of these white lines because we had kind of a more distinct grass in our initial image, which you can tell if we go ahead and remove our preprocessor and make it bigger. You can see that the grass is a bit more visible here, which is why when we actually turn it back into a line drawing, you can see that grass more visibly. And then that translates into these images where you're getting some kind of unkempt grass here, and then you're getting some kind of fairy lights throughout this. I actually Kind of really like that. I think of these, I would probably go with this one because it looks like these lights would be intentional. On this one, you can see that there's light on the lawn, but you can't see what the source of the light is, so I would leave that out. And this one, I think that it's just a bit much, but particularly in this top right one, we can see some nice lighting along the tree here, which I like. So let's add that one to our gallery, and let's go to our next season. For this one, let's write autumn maple trees, orange and red leaves, golden afternoon light, and crisp atmosphere. So we're going to get a very fall color looking one. And again, imagine. And what I love about this is that you're getting the same house just with different vibes to it. And I just think it's so cool. Now we have fall colors. You can see all the fall colors reflecting off of the windows. This one even added the orange trim to the windows, which I wouldn't keep because it's not what I wanted in the house. And that happens because we have orange and red leaves on. If you have orange and red in the prompt, regardless of what they're connected to, it's going to want to put that throughout the entire image. Now, among these four, I think I would end up going with this bottom left one. This one gave me red stairs, which I wouldn't want. This one's got the orange around the windows, which I don't really want. And then this one added orange on top of the roof, which doesn't look as realistic as I would like. So let's go ahead and add that one to our gallery and move on to winter. Now we have yard covered in fresh snow, warm golden windows, and winter evening. Let's see what our winter house looks like. And look at that, we've got our houses. This one I would leave out because it did a funky thing with the sidewalk there. And I think this one I would also leave out. Same thing with the sidewalk. And then also the front door is kind of rounded. It's just not the same kind of door. So I would keep one of the ones that has the regular rectangular door. And so among these, I would go with this bottom left one. I think that this one looks the best. I'm going to add that one to my favorites. Now let's open up our gallery and we can see the images that we made. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one that I didn't use just so we only have the ones that we need. And now we have our springtime, summertime, our summertime at night, and we have fall and winter. Now that we have these, we could go ahead and upscale them. So let's go ahead and restore all settings to our winter house and see what we can do to upscale it. If we just did our regular upscaling, it does an okay job, but it gives it kind of a flat look. So let's go ahead and undo that. And instead of doing the upscaling, we could also enhance it. Now, if you go into your advanced settings, you have your different levels of enhancing that you could do. You have light, mid, and heavy. And what this does is it takes your image and runs it through Flux with a guide image. And so it can give you a better quality version of it. I'm going to stick with mid and let's enhance and see what that comes up with. And we get a more realistic look this way. It's really a matter of preference of as if you like this more. Let's unenhance it and let's go back into our advanced settings and see what a heavy enhancement will do. So the more you do it, the more it's going to change it from the original image. And that's nice. You get a little bit more photorealistic image. You know, we have really nice looking pine tree on the side here. The snow looks better on the roof. It looks like somebody didn't do a very good job of shoveling the sidewalk here. They kind of just did one pass through when they should have shoveled the whole sidewalk. But again, this is really just a matter of personal preference. I'm going to go ahead and undo it and I'm going to keep it as it was because I like it just as it was. But beyond changing the settings, you could also change the weather. We could make it stormy. You could change the different kinds of trees. Just really kind of play around with it, see how you like it. All right, I hope that that was helpful for you, but I also hope that you realize that you can do this with many other kind of use cases as well, where you're using ControlNet to take a certain image and see what it looks like in different kind of scenarios or just different art styles. There's so many different things that you could do with it. So go play around with it and make sure to share with us what you've made, and I'll see you in the next one.